Hey everyone, so I want to make a quick video that might make some people upset, might make some other people happy, but I want to do a video going over investment strategies and how to make money over time in PoE passively. Now, this might sound like some sort of timeshare scam or whatever else you might want to call it, but no, this is actually a really good way of making passive income without really doing anything. I mentioned this briefly on stream when people ask me here and there at the start of each season, but I thought I should just probably make a video on it since I'm going to probably do a little bit of it myself this season. And if you are either having to leave for the weekend or if you're not going to play for the next week, or if you just simply want a way to store your money away while making sure it makes you profits for the next week, next month, however long, this is a really easy way of doing it. So what we're going to be talking about today is things that you could put your money into that are basically guaranteed to only go up in value over time and are basically a guaranteed way to profit. Now, the first example I'm going to go over is obviously mirrors and anything mirror related. As we can see in Sanctum, mirrors always go up in price. As we can see in Crucible, mirrors are still only going up in price. And this is true the whole season. Mirrors will only go up and up and up. And the reason behind this is mirrors follow standard. By the end of the season, guaranteed, no matter what, mirrors will match 1-to-1 the price of standard. There's a lot of people who actually play the season simply to make money, simply to invest in cheap mirrors because these are cheap in comparison to on standard, or other cheap supplies and then simply just move them to standard once the season is over. And because of that, mirrors will always rise in price, basically the whole season up to the standard price. So because of this, buying either just mirrors, if you can obviously afford mirrors, or even mirror shards. Mirror shards are pretty cheap. They're about 6 div a few days ago, and now they're about 9 div. And these are only going to go up in price as well. They're 5% of a mirror. Or any other sort of card related to mirrors. We have House of Mirrors, which is just a full mirror. We also have 7 Years Bad Luck, which is a card that gives you mirror shards. I would honestly recommend this one if you simply want a very low investment way of making some money. 7 Years Bad Luck is always a good option since they're so cheap. Since they're, I believe, 1/200 something of a mirror. It's a very small portion of a mirror, but neither less, it's still a portion of a mirror. So it's worth whatever percent of a mirror it is. If you just want to have a way to just put a div somewhere and then in a few days that div turns into 1.3, 1.4 div, it's a good way of doing it. It's not a good investment to do mirror related items for the first few days this season because typically mirrors are pretty stagnant at the start. But as we're moving into week 2 now, and as we move into week 3, where people start really crafting and a lot of mirror items exist and people want to mirror them, these are going to absolutely skyrocket in price. If we look at Sanctum, as we can see, mirrors for the first few days were kind of stagnant. In the first few days, I can see then they massively rose in week 2 and then slowly went up and up and up throughout the rest of the season. They mostly go up towards the end where a lot of mirror items exist and where a lot of people can afford mirrors to mirror items. If you want some other ways of making profits short term, this is not that well known, but this is currently what I'm personally doing. And I have already seen quite a lot of profit out of it. And that is tailoring orbs and tempering orbs. Tempering orbs are a little bit more surefire way of making money. As you can see, these are already going and they're going to go even harder. I would expect over the next few days, going into week 2, week 3, these are probably going to gain another 30-40% value, and they will never go down in price for the rest of the season. They will pretty much stay at whatever their week 2, week 3 price is. As we can see in Sanctum last season, they massively rose, and then they basically stayed where they were / they gained a little bit more value. In the first week to 2 weeks of the season, these are a guaranteed way to double, even triple your investments. And you can kind of cash these out whenever you want. As you can see, they'll never go down. And the same thing goes for tailoring orbs. Now, tailoring orbs go up slower because more people want to make weapons. Weapons are typically the most mirrored item and the item that people go for first. So as you can see, they go up really slowly. But if we look at Crucible currently, tailoring orbs are going up in price. I actually personally managed to buy quite a lot of these the past few days. Now they've doubled in price, which is nice. And these are only going to continue rising in price as well. Another good option, although it might be a little bit risky, is fracturing orbs. These, especially over the next 1 to 2 weeks, are going to also rise in price quite a bit. They're about 5 div right now. I can see them hitting 6 div, but there's also a good chance they might crash in price a little bit. If we look at Sanctum, they did spike quite heavily towards the end of week 2, then they crashed a little bit, and then it took them pretty much the whole season to catch back up to where they were. But these will still go up in price decently well over the next few days if you want to invest them. Personally, what I would recommend currently, if you want my honest opinion, is probably obviously to invest in a few of these, but I would personally recommend probably heist based orbs since these are kind of guaranteed to double in price, or mirror items. Mirror items are a super safe investment, although they're not going to go up in price too much. They'll probably go up maybe 20% per week or so, but that's still a pretty good investment. And if you want something a little bit riskier, maybe go for fracturing orb. Now, some options, which personally I find a little bit too risky, but it might be something worth looking into if you really want to, are the regrading lenses from Heist, either the secondary regrading lens or the primary regrading lens. These have had a history of not really going up too much. Prime is kind of stagnant. It doesn't really go up too much. As we can see, it actually is worth maybe a little bit more than it was now. They just rise very slowly. And I would honestly just put my money into 7 years bad luck rather than these. But secondary regrading lenses do have a tendency to just go up in price. The nice thing about these is they're a very good long-term investment since typically a lot of all quality gems are used in a lot of meme builds, and typically content creators and just people in general tend to find more interesting builds around this portion of the season, around the midpoint. So right now they are probably just going up with the economy in general. Everything is on the rise, but if you put your money into some of these and held them for about a month, you should see quite a lot of income, especially as people are bound to find new alt quality builds that are interesting, or as other alt quality gems just rise in popularity. Lastly, of course, I'm going to mention, I think everyone kind of knows about this, but div orbs are also a pretty good way of putting your money as a way to gain a little bit of investment. The only problem with div orbs is they've been pretty stagnant the past few days, and these are very hard to predict. Every other thing I've talked about is pretty predictable in terms of what it's going to do. I can almost guarantee you that they're going to go up in price, and I can almost guarantee you with like 99% certainty you're not going to lose any money on. But div orbs, they're all over the place, as we've seen in Sanctum. I think we all know what happened in Sanctum, right? They went to 300C and then they crashed, and then they basically AFK'd all season. These are a good way of making money at the start, but I feel like at this point in the season, it's a little bit too late to profit on them. I could be wrong. I could be right. I can't tell you. And in my opinion, if you currently have your money invested in div orbs, I would probably completely get rid of all of them and probably just at least hold mirror shards or mirror related items. But if for all I know, they could do exactly what they did last season. These could be worth 300C in the next few days, and you could be making a lot of money. But I personally feel like these are too risky and wouldn't do it if your money is in them currently. There's other few options here and there to mention. For example, Mage Blood and anything Mage Blood related can potentially be good. Mage Blood's been on the rise. It was a little bit stagnant in the first few days of the season, but this is a little bit all over the place. You might be able to do some headhunter related cards, like doctors and nurses are probably pretty good. Although headhunter is currently about 110 div, 120, that's typically where it sits at most of the season. I don't really see it going much higher than this. It might go to 150, but that's really it. So you're not going to really get much here. Same for Mage Blood. This might go to 300 div again, or it might just sit at like 250, and there's a little bit of profit to make there, but in my opinion, it's a little bit too risky. One good option actually is Kalandra's Touch. This actually only gets more and more popular as the season goes on. If you look at Sanctum, you can actually see that it basically went up all season. This is because this effectively makes it to, if you mirror a ring, you can then buy Kalandra's Touch for 60, 70 div, and now you have 2 copies of that mirrored ring. If you, for example, have like a +2 power charge ring or some other really insane ring. So if you want a big item to just hold on to as a way to make a lot of money, this is a pretty good way. But personally, I would just diversify and just buy a bunch of different currencies. rather than to go all in on one item. That's all I really have for this video. If you have any questions about any of this, if you're not too sure if you should invest in something, if you're not too sure about a specific item you're interested in buying that I went over, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to help people with this. This has been something I've kind of kept secret, but not really, because I talk to people about this. It was more of a, if people ask me, I'll tell them about it, but otherwise I'm not really going to mention anything kind of thing. And I thought I'd make a video on it to let, people have a way to make more money if you want to make more money. And not only has this been something I've personally been doing quite a lot of every season, but it's something that I think anyone can do realistically. And I feel like everyone should do, right? It's just like in real life where you should be investing in your future. You kind of want to do the same thing here, right? It's an economy after all, and investments are always good. Short-term investments, long-term investments, they're both very, very good. But if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, and I'll happily try to give you my opinion on anything you're interested in investing in. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you have any other questions, I'm always live on Twitch. And if not, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.